Well, okay. Hey, everybody. This is Mark from Awesome Town, USA, Boise, Idaho, where it may be in the 90s today, but we're all very cool. Well, at least everybody else is. This week, we're going to be talking about the difference between OTC or over the counter hearing aids and prescriptive hearing aids and which one might be right for you. When you look at OTC and prescriptive hearing aids side by side, they look very similar, but the differences are significant. And so we're going to try to sort some of that out right now. If we were to compare two products that are meant to do basically the same thing, but do it in different ways, I might point you to, let's say, a small car, for instance, like a Kia Soul or a Mini Cooper. And then I might contrast that with a Mercedes C-Class or a Lexus RX. You're going to notice some obvious differences right away, like the size. You might look at the interior luxury of one over the other. You might focus in on the ride quality, or you might focus in on the power of the engine, or you might focus on the economy of the Mini Cooper or the Kia over the more luxurious brand. But in the end, both of these are meant to do the same thing. They're basically meant to transport people from one place to another, but they do it in very different ways. But which one is right for you depends on a lot of different factors. It might be accessibility, it might be affordability, it might be support, personal comfort, or it may just come down to good old-fashioned personal preference. And it's really no different with your hearing. For some, affordability may outweigh all the other factors. I know it did for me for many years. But the difference in what the hearing aids can do can be significant. So let's talk about some of the differences and see if we can make some headway in the ever blurring lines between OTC and prescriptive hearing aids. The 115th Congress passed the Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act. It added a new class of hearing aids that could be purchased directly by consumers without having to go to a licensed professional like your audiologist or an ENT. And in display of typical government efficiency, it took 5 years for the FDA to release their final guidelines, which created the two categories of OTC and prescriptive hearing aids. Today, OTC hearing aids are manufactured by some of the biggest electronics companies in the world. Companies like Sony, Sennheiser, Bose, Lexi, Jabra, Apple, and Eargo. So then what are some of the distinct differences between OTC and over-the-counter hearing aids? For me, I found it helpful to break them into 4 areas of consideration. The number one consideration is your personal hearing loss. Since OTCs are meant to be used by consumers with mild to moderate hearing loss, if you have a hearing loss that is moderate to severe or even profound, then they simply cannot deliver the correction needed. Now, you can buy prescriptive hearing aids that are only meant for mild to moderate hearing loss, but the majority are designed to correct for all levels of hearing loss. Our second consideration is your comfort level with technology. OTC devices are meant to be customized and set up by the purchaser. Now, I do know that there are audiologists who will sell you OTC devices and will help you set them up. And they will go through a process to help you get them as close to your audiogram as possible. But the devices are extremely limited in the amount of options and settings that can be made. There are basic frequency controls, mids, lows, highs, volume adjustments, and a few presets for sound environments. On the opposite side, prescription hearing aids provide super fine tuning of each individual device. This gives you the correction right where you need it. It's not simply a blanket boosting the highs, cutting back on the lows, but it targets individual frequencies within your hearing range. You also have the ability to prioritize speech or noise control on the fly. You even have tinnitus or tinnitus sound therapy features, and all of these are done for you by a hearing professional. My third consideration is support. With prescriptive hearing aids, you receive hands-on care from your audiologist or your ENT or hearing specialist for things like fit and sound adjustment for the life of your service contract, professional device optimization. You get help with comfort, connectivity, and troubleshooting. You get custom fitting ear molds where applicable, and tinnitus or tinnitus sound treatment therapy programming. Most OTCs that I'm aware of come with at least a year guarantee. I believe that Eargo's guarantee is 2 or 3 years. And if you purchase your OTC from a local provider, you should have access to their help. However, the limitation of the device, again, limits the amount of support that you can have. There's only so much that you can do when you bring in the device and say, hey, I'm not hearing correctly. There is only so much that they can adjust in your sound parameters of the OTCs to make a difference. However, if your hearing loss is only mild to moderate, you may not need the tweakability provided by prescriptive hearing aids. And number 4, of course, is cost. OTCs can cost anywhere from $200, please don't buy these, to over $2,600 for a pair of Eargo 8s. On the other side of the spectrum, depending on the provider you choose, you can pay anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000, or even the ridiculous $10,000 that I was quoted, which actually sent me to my computer to do some research where I found Zip Hearing, which saved me a ton of money. Okay, so before I sum up, let me just show you 3 of the over-the-counter devices that I purchased and used personally. First are Eargo 6s. Very small, very discreet, fits into the ear very, very nicely, has a very natural sound. Like most OTCs on the market, Eargo provides you with an app, and that app gives you some limited ability to change programs, to update the firmware, to make sure that your devices are functioning properly, and also to make changes to your highs, your lows, and your mids. I think that Eargos are a really good choice, provided that your hearing loss is mild to what I would consider low moderate. My second pair of OTCs were receiver and canals that were originally produced by Lively Hearing. Now, Lively was bought up or merged with a company that became Jabra. And as far as I can tell, they are almost visually identical to the product that Jabra was putting out just last year or the year before. They're really easy to get online. You can get them for a decent price. And connection issues with my iPhone at the time were non-existent. I turned them on, hooked them to Bluetooth, they paired immediately, and they were not any issue. I found that the sound quality with the Livelies was nowhere near as natural sounding as it was with the Eargos. And of course, being OTC and limited in their functionality, they were not able to provide me with the sound correction that I really needed. And then lastly, just within the last year, Apple obtained approval from the FDA to add features to their AirPod Pro 2s, which brought them into the category of over-the-counter hearing aids. There have been no shortage of YouTubers touting the death of prescriptive hearing aids because of Apple's entrance into the field. And I'd like to address that, but I think I'm going to need a separate video to do that. So be sure to stay tuned to this space where I'm going to take a look at the AirPod Pros. So then let's sum up now what I think about the difference between OTC and prescriptive hearing aids. If your hearing loss is significant and you want the best opportunity to hear really well in all kinds of different environments, very loud environments like restaurants or group gatherings. In short, if you are looking for the very best hearing that you can get, then prescriptive hearing aids are your best alternative. Again, they will be fitted and tuned precisely to your individual hearing needs. You will receive a thorough exam and evaluation by your hearing professional. They will connect for all levels of hearing loss from mild through to profound, and you will have support and follow-up care from a hearing professional. Now, over-the-counter hearing aids can be perfectly appropriate for anyone with minimal hearing loss. And in fact, there have been recent studies that show that for mild to moderate hearing loss, there's very little distinction between the correction that you can get from an OTC and a prescriptive hearing aid, but only at the lower levels of hearing loss. And remember that they lack the features that we've already discussed. You will not receive a comprehensive hearing exam unless you purchase them through a local hearing professional. They will not be fitted and tuned for every environment and every situation because the hearing technology that is available in prescriptive hearing aids, frankly, is just on a whole different level. They will only correct for low to moderate, and your support and follow-up may be limited depending on where you purchase the devices. If you found this video helpful at all, please leave me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing so that you can stay in tune with all the things that we have in the pipeline that are coming. And above all, take care of your hearing. If you're having problems and you need hearing aids, gather as much information as you can so that you can make an informed decision about your hearing. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of your week. And be sure to look for the video that's coming up on the Apple AirPod Pro 2 over-the-counter hearing aids. Bye.